Hey everybody, so uh, went ahead and skipped to the end of my playthrough. I think you got a feel for what the solo mode was like um, in Pandemic. I ended up losing by running out of cards. Almost lost by outbreaks. Um, Almost lost by the number of blue cubes. Um, And yeah, I was working towards my last cure, and I just ran out of time. I ended up switching roles twice. I switched to the medic, and he helped me cure out some diseases. And then I switched to the archivist because one of my problems was at the beginning of the game when you discard a certain number of city cards. Um, if it's less than 6 of the same color, then it's okay. And I had already, I think, started out missing 5 blacks. And so, as I had to unfortunately discard at certain points in the game, I ended up like barely having any blacks. And so, um, I knew I needed the archivist to get some of those Black City cards. But unfortunately, that tied my hands. Like that, basically had to spend a whole turn just working towards, doing those actions I needed and moving, maybe actually 2 full turns just to get the cards I needed to cure the black. And just to show you, I mentioned in the playthrough how the cards you get, the sequences you get, can be so impactful in the game. This is what I had to cure blue, which isn't too bad. But this is what I had to have to cure, I think that one was black. And then this was my red. And just to show you, there are easier, and then my yellow over here has 8 different cubes on it. There are easier ones like this red, this yellow, this red and yellow, this black and yellow, this black one, these blue ones. I mean, if you get the ones where it's just 4 of one color, those ones are so much easier to do, especially if you get these ones like this yellow one I have here. It requires a red, a blue, 4 yellows, and then 2 of whatever color you choose it to be, and mine was yellow, so I needed 6 yellows on that. And just to get that blue and the red can sometimes require backtracking because you have to get them into the petri dishes and then process the samples so you can get them to the sequence card. And that's where I think a way to balance the game more would be maybe some kind of system for the sequencing where maybe you draw 2 cards and pick one or something like that. Because it's just, I don't know. I mean, now granted, I know that you can spend actions to swap the sequence card and all of the cubes move over. And, now that I think about it, I probably should have took that risk. But the problem is, it's also, it's also a risk. And so you have to make up your mind one way or the other what you're going to do about it. But I don't know. I think the 2 may help balance it a little bit more. I feel like it's a little difficult. But all in all, I really enjoy the solo mode in this game. Before I had the expansion with the solo mode, which is in the lab, I tried playing this, just 2 players, but, me controlling 2 players. And I have to say that the Center for Disease Control allows for some more interesting decisions, and because of the ability to change the role and how a few things work slightly differently, I think it really brings a different enough feel to the solo play where it stands alone in my mind in comparison to normal Pandemic. If you're an alpha player, this is a solution to that. I mean, you get to sit and work it out yourself and really wrestle through all these decisions. I think it's honestly a little more challenging too. Even if you take control of 2 characters and just play it like a 2-player game, you still have all the same number of actions, And while the Center for Disease Control sometimes can be more powerful, it's only one action in between your every turn. And so that action can be so critical, and it's so much pressure. Do I move? Do I do something in the lab right now? Do I change my role? That can be so critical in the game. And I love all those new interesting decisions that it brings because of that. And I feel like in old games of Pandemic, I could plan ahead, maybe even 2 turns, and like kind of generally know what's going to happen. Especially once you've like had your first epidemic, and so more of what to expect from the cities that you're going to be drawing from the infection deck. And I feel like this mitigates some of that, because the Center for Disease Control is just a wild card, and it changes that a little bit, but not too much. All in all, I highly recommend, if you're like me, and right now my wife is sick, and so I'm playing by myself, or if you live by yourself, or you find a lot of times you don't have someone to play a game with, I really recommend you check out the solo variant for Pandemic. And I would say briefly too, let me check my battery here. I don't want to run out of battery. If you have not purchased an expansion for this game, well, first of all, if you haven't played Pandemic, give it a try. And it's actually a cheaper game. I mean, I bought this game during the holidays for someone for $19 one time. So if you wait for the right time, it is such a mass-produced, popular game. You can find it at your common big stores now. It's easy to find, and I recommend you get the expansions in order. Get the On the Brink. Adds a ton of events, and the virulent strain epidemics, which almost cost me this game. That adds a nice twist to the game. The Bioterrorist variant, I want to say something about that real quick. I think the way it is ruled in the game, in the rule book, is okay. It's not amazing, but there are a couple of variants that people have posted on BoardGameGeek.com. The BGG, the Board Game Geek, if you're not familiar with it. Highly recommend you check those out. I really had fun playing with that one game where I got to be the bioterrorist, and you get to sabotage research stations and have sightings at airports and stuff like that. It feels, I feel like the bioterrorist takes the thematic flavor to a new level. The In the Lab does that too. Moving on to that, In the Lab, I feel like the In the Lab really is where the challenge lies. On the Brink introduced the Purple Disease Cube, and that's okay and dandy, but I think really the In the Lab, for me at least, has really brought an interesting, a lot more to think about even how you're moving your disease cubes around. Do I wait and do I multiply them? Or do I cure their diseases first? And you have to be so strategic about how you move those around. It just adds like another puzzle for you to figure out on top of this puzzle. And so much depth there. So I highly recommend that. It also comes with a team variant where you can have 3 teams of like 2 players competing while you're still cooperating together to defeat the game. One team can beat the others by getting the most points. I haven't tried that yet. Maybe one day I'll do a run through of that. But I've talked for too long. Highly recommend you check out the solo variant of Pandemic. Any questions or comments, feel free to comment below. This has been the Welcome Mat. Thanks for joining me. Take care. Good night. Bye-bye.